Could I also please invite on stage Mr. Sanjay Narayan Barde, CEO, GMR Energy Limited. It is with pleasure that I invite now on stage Mr. Kulman Ghising, Managing Director, Nepal Electricity Authority. And to bring this panel or this session together from PowerPoint to power lines, I would now like to invite the moderator of this session, Ms. Pooja Sharma, Head of Energy, Practical Action. Ladies and gentlemen, the third session here at Kantipur Conclave 2022, the stage is all set for this session from PowerPoint to power lines. I hope you're as eager as I am to hear what our fabulous speakers have to share and tell when it comes to PowerPoint to power lines. I now hand it over to our moderator.
Thank you, Sadiksha ji, for the wonderful introduction and also setting the scene, providing some highlights in the background. Namaste, everyone. Thank you for joining us. It's my honor to moderate this session with eminent panelists from the South Asia region. Our panelists do not need further introduction, so I'm not going into the details of the introduction. I can already see some of the surprises in the faces why we do not have women as a panelist here. But I think women need to capitalize opportunity. We also need to show that women should not hesitate to be a part of discussion in whatever kind of workforce you are in. But definitely, as we move into green economy, we need to take serious actions to make it green and inclusive. Let me enter into electricity trade now. 2 decades ago, countries in this region were discussing about potentials of energy trade, actually electricity trade, during meetings, in conferences and workshops. Today, it has been well recognized that there are resource complementarities in this region. So, moving beyond discussions and practicing efficient transmission energy trade, our panelists will talk about the status and the future of regional energy market. I'll go with some of the questions to our panelists, and then I will take some questions from the floor through Kantipur Conclave app. I encourage you all to drop your questions there, and for any issues, please reach out to volunteers from the organizers. Let me start my first question with Yeshi. The sale of hydroelectricity has accounted for the largest share of the country's GDP in Bhutan. Also, Bhutan has the highest per capita electricity consumption in the region. How was Bhutan able to achieve both of these milestones? Again, increase in electricity trade, electricity generation, but without compromising growth of domestic consumption.
Thank you very much for the hydropower sector in Bhutan is the key to socio-economic development the people of Bhutan. Bhutan government is placing a lot of emphasis on developing hydropower projects. At present, the total installed capacity in Bhutan is 2,335 megawatt. We have been exporting the surplus power to India. Our first priority is to meet the domestic demand. So we have very good infrastructure within Bhutan, where we have this transmission lines and distribution lines along with the substations set up all across Bhutan. So the electricity coverage in Bhutan is 99%. As on the recent record shows 99.9%. In fact, so almost all across Bhutan, there's the electricity has reached all the households. After meeting the domestic demand, then the surplus power is sold to India. So the domestic demand at present is about 30%, and 70% of the power is sold to India through long-term power purchase agreement that the two government has. So that way, we have just the per capita income of just the people of Bhutan is about $3,000 per year, and then per capita power consumption is about 2,700 units. That is 2,700 kilowatt hour, and then we are earning a huge revenue from the export of power to India.
Thank you, Yeshi. So you've already reached per capita electricity consumption target that is way ahead than Nepal's target for 2030. So congratulations on that. My next question is to Kulmanji, and I'd like to connect this question with what Yeshi just mentioned. But also I'll start with, like, Nepal has turned from definitely net importer to net exporter. Huge congratulations to you and to all of us. Now, down the 5 years line, where do you see Nepal in the regional energy market in terms of energy projections, in terms of distribution system reliability, in terms of some figures, maybe amount? Your opinion on that?
Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to say something about in background as Nepal Electricity Authority, and Nepal is having installed capacity of around 2,200 at present, and we are exporting around 20% of our generation. Around 400 megawatt we are exporting now. From this year onwards, we will be net exporter of electricity to India. And connectivity, transmission connectivity, we are having around 8 transmission lines, 400 to 400 kV transmission line, and 7 132 kV transmission lines. The total capacity of transmission line is around 2,000 megawatt. We have 2,000 megawatt capacity that at present we can build power from both sides. And after 1 year, this capacity will reach to 4,500 megawatt. 100 kV and 132 kV line will be completed within 1 year. And by next 5 years, our transmission capacity will reach to around 13,000 megawatt. 2 transmission line Lamki-Pareli and this Inerua Purnia is supposed to start by next 1 or 2 years. And so by 2026-27, we will be having enough transmission capacity for export. And our generation will be more than 7,000 megawatt because there are so many pipeline projects, and our consumption will be around 3,000 megawatt. So rest 4,000 megawatt will be export. If we see today's export, 400 megawatt around within 1 month we are exporting around 2 billion rupees energy. Within 3 months, we have already exported around 6 to 7 billion rupees energy. So for next 5 years, our trade volume will be around $2 billion. I think more than that also, our export volume. And we'll be self-sufficient in dry season also within next 2 years. Within next 2 years, we don't have to buy energy from India. Dry season also, we will be self-sufficient. So this is the scenario that we have in coming future within 5 years scenario. And there are many projects within 10 years we are going to have more than 15,000 megawatt of installed generation capacity. many projects are in pipeline, and this excludes GMR project and the export-oriented projects and Satlas, and there are many other developers coming from India. Satlas is developing around 2,000 megawatt, and recently NSPC is developing this Veseti, and other projects are also they are interested in, and GMR is going to export Upper Karnali power to Bangladesh, and the next part is trade with Bangladesh. We have already made understanding with Bangladesh. We are going to have a tripartite agreement with Bangladesh BPDB, Power Development Corporation, and NEA and NBVN in India. That understanding was made in last month's secretary level meeting between Bangladesh and Nepal. So things are going ahead. I think within 1 year also, we can export to Bangladesh as a symbolic quantum of 50 megawatt or 100 megawatt. That process is going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Kulmanji. That's huge, but also realistic projections, I would say. But before going to Sanjay, Kulmanji, I also asked about the domestic consumption growth. So where do you see down the 5 years line domestic consumption, supply reliability, and domestic infrastructures?
Really, for last 4 to 5 years, our domestic consumption increment is around 20%, 20 to 25%. So it's a huge increment. And by next 5 years, our demand will be 3,000 megawatt. Energy consumption will be, I think, double of today's. Today, our energy consumption is 10,000 million units. So I think it will be more than 20,000 million units. So domestic consumption is increasing day by day. Our consumption is mainly on industrial sector, and city, urban area also demand is increasing. Now electrical vehicles and induction cooking we are promoting. I think electrical vehicle is coming so fast, so that will increase our domestic consumption. And there are many areas that we can increase the domestic consumption. And electrification part, I think we have already electrified 95% of our households by grid electrification, and off-grid, including off-grid, it may be 97% of households are already electrified. So reliability and quality of supply, we are now focusing on the reliability and quality of supply. To increase the demand, the first important aspect is to increase the reliability and quality of supply. So we are focusing on reliability and quality of supply. We are investing huge amount of investment in this sector, in city area, industrial corridors, to increase the reliability in transmission and distribution. In Kathmandu itself, for next 3 to 4 years, we have to invest around 50 to 60 billion rupees to make Kathmandu system reliable and to meet the demand of next 30 to 40 years demand. So we are investing a huge amount of money to increase demand and to improve reliability of the system. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's good. It's so good to hear all your efforts you are investing to improve the reliability of the systems. When there are debates around should we be exporting, like are we concentrating more on exports and not concentrating on the domestic consumption? But it's so good to hear your plans, your investments already, and your projections. Thank you. My next question is to Sanjay. Considering diverse energy supply resources that we have in the South Asia region and resource complementarities, and we all are aiming for the long-term energy trade. So what opportunities do you see for foreign private investment in Nepal and also in the region? And also, you represent private sector, so are there already some discussions going around among private sectors in the region, and what are your agenda or like discussions point? Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you, Media Group, for giving me this opportunity to interact with all of you. In your question itself, you have said that the needs of the SAARC region countries are, or their demand patterns are complementary. The time when Nepal has excess power, the run of the rivers are at the peak, there is a huge demand in northern states in India. When the demand is higher in Nepal, the demand in India goes down. So the needs are complementary, and it is in the interest of all of us in this region really match these demands and see that exchange of power is done in a very effective way so that it's a win-win situation to all of us. India, in spite of having more than 200,000 megawatts of installed capacity, which is likely to 300,000 in a short time, when the kind of solar programs which they have taken up, would still be in need of power, especially green power in the coming days. Looking into this, I see a lot of opportunity in having a very effective exchange of power between these countries. I'm not concentrating on Bangladesh. We have done our own analysis there. There also the needs are very complementary and very ideal for us to keep on exchanging power with Bangladesh. So the next thing which you asked was about private sector participation. Looking into the kind of potential which Nepal has, it's not possible for either the Nepal government to exploit the entire potential or the government of India also to continue government-to-government projects in the country. Ideal would be that you evoke the interest of the private sector, come to Nepal, invest here. There are some requisites for doing that. Unless these requisites are fulfilled, I don't think the private sector would come in a big way into Nepal for setting up very large power stations, large hydropower stations. Smaller power stations which are meant for catering to power requirement within Nepal, definitely, yes, you could have some private sector participation coming into it. But in case you want, or in case large power plants are to be established here, we need the big private sectors to really come into Nepal to establish them. And obviously, like Kulmanji said, they are going to be export-oriented projects. These export-oriented projects, like any other infrastructure projects, are very capital-intensive and they require large amount of funds. Needless to say that unless a financial viability for these projects is established, they would not come here. And neither would they get finance from the international finance. Because for such large projects running into billions of dollars, we definitely will have to go to international financing agencies. Unless the viability of this project, commercial viability of these projects are established, the banks also would not finance. So these are some of the requisite. Another one requisite which I would like to touch upon, necessary, apart from the infrastructure, which Kulmanji mentioned, that there are transmission lines for export of power to India. There are some more transmission lines which are getting planned. Apart from that infrastructure, what is also required for a cross-border trade when we are talking of? Now, we are not talking of bilateral government-to-government contracts which have been happening all these years. If it is to have a cross-border trade, then what is essential is a regulatory framework in the respective countries enable this trade to happen. Fortunately, this was not there. Till 2019, India has come up with a cross-border trade rules, policy and guidelines. Has been now approved. There are some nodal agencies who are designated to control this cross-border trade. So this is one very good enabling thing which has happened for this cross-border trade to happen. Similar kind of things with the other SAARC countries would really be required for very effective. I hope I have answered.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely, financial viability is the prerequisite. But when you go to Bhutan, it's very different. And from Yeshi, we would like to know the dynamics there. Would you please shed some lights on private sector engagement in your energy market? You also have very interesting initiatives and government policies in the energy sector. Like going back to my previous question again, like government has announced free electricity, and there should be certain basis and logic about those, about those initiatives. I'm assuming it's not only just popular statements, but it has some logics and basis. Would you please like to share some, some thoughts on that, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Pooja. For Bhutan, this power sector, hydropower sector, is a very important, it's a strategic resource for the people of Bhutan. So that is why any hydropower development that is taking place in Bhutan, government is taking a very cautious step, and then government is developing those power projects on their own through their state-owned companies, mainly to ensure that the wealth of the country does not go to the few hands of the Bhutanese people. So that is why the strategic resources such as hydropower, and then of course other mineral resources, also strategic mineral resources also been developed and then explored by state-owned companies. So that way we have, as I said, the total installed capacity right now is 2,335. Now we have 3 more hydropower projects under construction, which are going to be commissioned in, one will be commissioned next year, then the other one, 1,020 megawatt, will be commissioned in a couple of years, and then the third one, 1,120, will be commissioned in 2028. So we are investing a lot of money in the hydropower sector, and now when it comes to providing free electricity and all, we are providing 100 units free electricity to rural people, and then 200 units of free electricity to highlanders, those people who are living in high altitudes, mainly to ensure that they remain there, because if such economic activities are not developed in those places, if health facilities, education facilities, free education facilities and health facilities are not provided to them, and then the free electricity, then there is no movement of migration taking place from rural to urban. That way, that is impacting the economy of the country also. We are not able to keep our people in the rural areas, and then they leave the farms fallow. So that is why the government has come up with a policy that where rural people and highlanders should be given free electricity. That is why those people are getting free electricity. And we are also developing hydropower projects on our own. Of course, the 3 mega projects that are in operation were developed through bilateral mode. The funding was totally from Government of India, where we receive 30% grant and then 70% loan. And we also have one hydropower plant where we engage a private partner. That is Tata Power. It's a 126 megawatt power plant in western part of Bhutan. And there we have three partners. Druk Green Hydropower Corporation Limited is a state-owned company which is responsible for developing and operating, and that has got the maximum stake. So there, of course, because since we have involved one private sector, so we are selling that power in through Tata Power Trading Company in the open market. Otherwise, rest of the energy that is generated from other projects exported through a long-term.
Thank you, Yeshi. It was really wonderful to hear all those initiatives and also the basis. I really liked how Bhutan has established the logic of providing free electricity to, to their people, because like we often say that people are not residing in the villages. Migration is quite high, but these kind of incentives can actually support to retain people in the village as well. I'll go with very quick questions, one round of quick questions, and then I'll take questions from the floor. Once again, a reminder to drop your questions in the app. Kulman ji, very quickly, IPPs entering into regional energy market. Your opinion on probability for this to happen?
There are many private developers to enter into a cross-border market. I think cross-border market should be open to everybody. Everybody can exercise cross-border market. So private sector, I think at present, they don't have power to sell because all the power they have developed or PPA that is tied with the NEA. So they don't have power to sell, but in long term they can have long-term PPA or certain surplus power. If they see in their power plants, they can also trade, or they can trade through as a mediator. This cross-border trading license, I think Nepal government is willing to provide cross-border license to private sector also. I think it is due to the Act, Nepal Electricity Act of Nepal doesn't allow this trade license to other private sectors. Now the bill is in Parliament to change this provision so that trading license can be provided to private sector also. I think it will come. Very soon it will come. They will get license to trade. It should be open. The electricity trade should be open to private sector also. In future, I think there will be many players in private sector also. After joint vision statement of our Prime Minister visited India, joined vision statement on power sector cooperation. The major part is trade, cross-border trade of electricity to countries, and transmission connectivity and hydropower development of both the countries. So trade is given importance in BVIN countries also. So everybody can play in.
That's really great to know. We are quite accommodative, and private sectors have future to enter into regional energy market. Thank you very much. Sanjay, my next question is about mechanisms or regulations, like we are talking about regional market. So should there be any institutional or neutral body or a forum like South Asia Forum for Electricity Market to regulate or say like to coordinate each country, member countries' interest, priorities? Should there be any such kind of institution very soon?
The idea of having such a body to regulate all the electricity, interesting. However, I feel that time may not be ripe right now immediately. Need to have different countries to have their own regulations in place. Once they are place, yes, can be thought of, which can take. This is being handled by different forums at the government level, joint working group among the secretaries of these nations. There are some forums which are looking at this aspect, but what you are saying is something to regulate the trade. I think I see such kind of institute or not in the, but it's a good idea if we can have one.
Thank you. But I understand that there is an urgent need for something else. And then once we have all those infrastructures in place, then the body or mechanism would be needed. So,
Sure, I think we have plenty of other things to do. That connectivity between cross-border connectivity is one more very important thing. And then once those are done, yes, the idea which you are giving out, yeah, possible.
thank you very much. I now move on to the app, and I'm taking some questions from the floor. Kulmanji, there is a question from Tyler Durdin. What is government or NEA doing to mitigate the effects of climate change, natural calamities on power plants and transmission lines?
Actually, Nepal's hydropower is green. So we are contributing to climate change, first thing. And this natural calamity is different aspect, I think. There are different calamities we have been facing. Hydropower, mainly in many hydropower projects, we have faced many calamities. Earthquake and landslides and many other force major issues. Private sector also, they suffer a lot. Due to glove burst also, there are many private sectors suffered. Dordi corridor and Sunkosi corridor. These are major calamities that Nepal's hydropower is facing. The major this mitigation part is the proper study that should be taken before going through this construction part. In private sector, I think design part, in design and cost estimation part, they don't take serious on these risks. They have to take those risks. In most of the government projects, we have taken much risk and much inbuilt the risks in design. So the cost sometimes goes higher also. Most of the private sector, they want to make costs cheaper. So that is also the problem in many private sector hydropower projects. And transmission line, there are many transmission towers going out. Recently, it was about to sweep out one transmission line in this Tamakosi corridor. If that was happened, then we could spill around 456 megawatt for 3 months. We could manage to protect it. It is very difficult, and it is very important to protect transmission line and geological investigation and geological in design phase, and this corridor selection, route selection is very, very important. We have to mitigate all these type of climate change.
Yeah, thank you. In the morning, we had this climate crisis action session, and where there were a lot of discussions around hydropower. and whether it's green or not, clean or not. So I think that's another debatable thing which we can argue
Actually,
for.
our
Yeah.
hydropower is clean. It's not all hydropower, mostly the run-of-river, peaking run-of-river. And in international practice, if reservoir projects are there, they say some issues on reservoir projects, but all hydropowers are clean, and it can mitigate this climate change.
Yeah, true. I also belong to the same opinion, but I think audience also were discussing about the impacts of hydropower, so I think that's a separate discussion again. I'll not go into the details. There is one more question for Kulmanji again. NEA has been providing financial support to different industrial sectors, which is great. Will NEA be providing some support plans for hospitality sector? Since they are heavily dependent upon petroleum products, taking in consideration tourism is one of the top countries' GDP increaser. And the question is from Alpa Shakir.
I think there is no load shedding, so they don't have to depend on this petroleum product now. Previously, it was they were dependent on petrol and diesel generation. Actually, Nepal's electricity is not costly. I think in this region, except Bhutan, I say Nepal's electricity price is cheapest in this region. So we have some lower price in industries. The hospitality sector, we say this is a commercial sector. Definitely commercial sector has some higher price. In future, it may go down. Today, what I request is, please accept the price and pay the price for at least 5 years. NEA has to invest heavily on infrastructure. You can ask for reliability and quality of supply. That is your genuine demand. But price, if we pay for some time, the country will get reliable system and quality system. So for investment, we need some money. We are also giving free electricity to rural people. 20 lakh rural people, they are getting free electricity. Below 20 units, they are free. And most of the rural people, they don't use more than 20 units. So they are using free. And irrigation, we are giving in 2 rupees. It's almost free. So irrigation and drinking water and electrical charging, we are giving at 5 rupees, the subsidized price. So let's pay something for some years. Nepal's electricity can be the cheapest, and after 30 years, all the hydropowers from private sectors, that will be handed over to the government, and that time, only operational cost will be not more than 1 rupees. So that will be the cheapest. That time we can make any price. And Nepal can have the cheapest electricity in the world, except Bhutan.
Interesting thoughts, Kulmanji. It could be the other way around also. Audience might be thinking, give us reliable electricity services, then we'll pay whatever you want. So which one comes first is the question. Anyway, I'm seeing more questions to Kulmanji. So just to be inclusive and to make the panel discussion more balanced, I have one question to Yeshi, and then and then again I'll come back to Kulmanji. Power trade beyond India. What are your dreams and immediate plans? Very quickly.
Sorry, can you repeat the
Power
question?
trade beyond India. What are your dreams and immediate plans?
Yeah, I think the GMR CEO has already indicated, but then I would like to share the Bhutan's experience on this. Now, while we do have surplus power during summer months, but then during winter months, because of the increasing domestic demand, we have, for the first time, imported power from India through PTC during the last winter months. So this trend is going to continue. We'll be importing power during winter months, in the coming winter months also. But then we are adding the capacity also. And then we also have the proposal to export the surplus power to Bangladesh other than India. But then because of the CBT guidelines, there are certain issues where clearances are required from government of India. So our government is working closely with the government of India to get the clearance on selling power to Bangladesh other than India. And you see, because now, because in the morning there was this climate, global warming issue discussions, those are there. Now, if this is, because this trend is continuing, now hydropower is the best source of renewable energy. And then Nepal and Bhutan has got a lot of perennial high flowing rivers which are fed by the glaciers and then snows. So we have a lot of hydropower potential. So we should explore exporting not only to a single market, but then we'll have to explore beyond India also. That is what I feel. And then we should continue to invest in hydropower. And now electric cars are on the road, and then those electric cars are run by batteries. We'll have to have a lot of charging stations where this electric power supply is required. And other thing is that now this, all of us know that the new evolving technology, the emerging technology, that is green hydrogen. So that is already, the technology has already emerged. So we'll have now during summer months, we can go for the reservoir scheme, pump storage, and then generate whatever surplus power you are going to have. So you generate the hydrogen, green hydrogen, store it, and then that can be used for running your automobiles and then heating your houses during winter months when you have power shortage, or even running your generator, your home generator using the hydrogen fuel. So we have a lot of scopes actually. We should Nepal and Bhutan should really invest into hydropower projects and then try to take this opportunity. So this is how we'll be able to come out of the underdeveloped countries. Of course, we are developing countries. That the exploration of market beyond India is which Nepal has already started. They have already signed the memorandum of understanding with Bangladesh by engaging NVVN and then other stakeholders. I hope I clarified.
Yeah, thank you. You have such a clear roadmaps, and that's a development we have seen over the last years. Like we were discussing, as we said, we were discussing in meetings and workshops, but now all the countries have clear roadmaps and clear projections. That's wonderful to see. I don't have any further question for GMR, but while I was in the lunchtime, there were, I got some questions. I would like to ask you that question. Like our audience were thinking about, or like asking, is GMR selling dreams, or is there realistic plans? This is, the question is to Mr. Barde. Very quick, very quick.
The fact that we are here, we have an establishment here, we are continuing to invest money, manpower, and sticking here in this country with this one particular project for so long shows our intent. We are very serious about it. If we are not serious, I think like many other developers who came along with us, we would have gone out. So we have a very clear intent, and we being power professionals, in a very small way, we started this regional integration, which is being talked of, was talked in the morning session also. We thought of integrating this power producing in Nepal, transmitting through India and selling it in Bangladesh. This was the idea which we have been working for 5 years. So I don't think it is a dream. It is our dream to make it possible. So we are not selling dreams. I'm talking of our dreams.
Thank you very much, and I'm sure our audience is quite convinced with the answer. I'm looking at the time, so we need to wrap up now. So Diksha ji is here. Thank you very much, all the panelists. Those were great insights. We really hope to see tangible results, some positive changes in the mechanism, and have energy secure South Asia very soon. A significant takeaway for me is we do have better coordination. We do have ambitious projections, but those are all realistic, and we are very clear on our roadmaps. Moving beyond, we also need to talk about energy justice and energy security in the forums soon. Thank you very much. Thank you, audience.
Thank you very much to our panelists and moderator for this session where they highlighted on hydro energy, discussed on various aspects of hydropower. Thank you very much. Great engagement from our audience and viewers who are also watching us live on Kantipur Television HD and eKantipur. I would now like to mention that we'll be taking a very short 20 minutes networking break where you could also enjoy a cup of tea and coffee. I'd like to request all of you to kindly be back inside the hall at exactly 4:10 when we shall begin our fourth session here at day one of Kantipur Conclave 2022, where we will be talking about Nepal and the world. This is a fantastic session. You would absolutely not want to miss Nepal and the world. Please be back inside the hall in exactly 20 minutes. Thank you, everyone.
ब्याङ्क पनि साथी पनि राम्रो पनि
They say travel broadens the mind, but why stop there? Why not broaden the palette? Open your ears and your eyes. Your journey will take you many places, but here is where it all begins. The enhanced business class from Cathay Pacific. Let your senses guide you.
Vouchers, bank cards को फाइदा लुट्नुहोस्, डिस्काउन्ट माथि थप डिस्काउन्ट पाउनुहोस् केवल दराज दशैं धमाकामा। साथमा महाबम्पर उपहारमा न्यू इलेक्ट्रिक स्कुटर जित्ने मौका नछुटाउनुहोस्। डाउनलोड द दराज एप नाउ।
हायरको ह्याप्पी बायर। हायरको खरिदमा उपहार यस्तो दङ्ग भई रमाउँछ मन चङ्गा जस्तो। आफ्ना ग्राहक वर्गहरूका लागि हायरले ल्याएको छ दशैं, तिहार र छठको अवसरमा हात खाली नजाने कोसेली। थप जानकारीका लागि हायरको नजिकैको डिलरमा सम्पर्क गर्नुहोस्। हायर, इन्स्पायर्ड लिभिङ।
यो डाक्टर नवीनको सधैँ नयाँ चमकदार देखिने घर, जसको सबै छिमेकीले गुनासो मात्रै गर्छन्। कसैको नयाँ घर हेरेर घाँटी बाङ्गिएको गुनासो, नयाँ घरको चमकले ट्राफिक जामै भएको गुनासो, जसको जन्ती आए पनि नयाँ घरमै जाने गुनासो। सबै हैरान आए लिएर गुनासोको चाम।
छोरा जन्मिँदा घरमा एसियन पेन्ट्स अल्टिमा प्रोटेक्ट शाइन लगाएको, त्यति नै हो।
एसियन पेन्ट्स अल्टिमा प्रोटेक्ट शाइन, यसमा भएको युभी हाइब्रिड टेक्नोलोजीले घाम, पानी, धुलोबाट दिन्छ वर्षौं वर्ष सुरक्षा र घर रहन्छ सधैँ शाइनदार।
अंकल, घरमा एसियन पेन्ट्स अल्टिमा प्रोटेक्ट शाइन लगाउनुहोस्, नो गुनासो।
शाइनदार घर वर्षौं वर्ष।